Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking dates today. And the first news we'll be discussing today is coming from Russia, where we've just got news today that the Russian President Vladimir Putin has just held talks with the President of Guinea-Bissau's president to discuss trade and relations. So Putin met with the President of Guinea-Bissau at the Kremlin to discuss trade and relations, and when the meeting actually began, when they started to speak with each other, unexpectedly the African president actually put down his translator earpiece and actually started speaking in Russian to address Putin as dear brother. I think Putin was a bit surprised that the African leader could actually speak Russian fluently, it seems. So, interesting news. But the Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomed him, the president of Guinea-Bissau, Umaro, to the Kremlin on Wednesday, marking another step in Russia's strategy to strengthen its economic and security presence in West and Central Africa. So the meeting comes as Russia continues to cultivate relationships with African nations through trade, infrastructure projects and military cooperation. So according to Reuters, the news agency, Russian metal tycoon Oleg Deripaska was present during the talks, signaling a potential business interests. Reports from Russian and Portuguese media suggest that Rusal, Russia's aluminium giant, is considering investments in the African country of Guinea-Bissau, including the construction of railway and ports in the country. So the two leaders of Guinea-Bissau and Russia has met to discuss trade and relations, and we've got news today that Russia might be investing in infrastructure projects in the country in Guinea-Bissau. So that includes construction of transportation hubs and construction of port hubs. So interesting news. We've also just got news today that the president of the Russian Federation, Putin, has officially invited the following world leaders to attend Russia's annual Victory Day parade on May the 9th in Moscow. So that is the Prime Minister of India, Modi, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the President of China, Xi Jinping. So Vladimir Putin has invited these three global powers of India, Donald Trump and China to the May the 9th Victory Parade to celebrate the winning of the Second World War on the Allies' favour. So interesting news. And we've also just got news today that the Russian and US delegations have arrived and conducted meetings in the city of Istanbul, Turkey. So a meeting of the Russian and US delegations has just taken place. The Russian delegation has arrived for talks with the Trump administration team. So the delegations from both countries met on February the 27th in Istanbul, Turkey. The US delegation was led by Sultana Kolter, so the Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Russia and the Central Europe, and the Russian delegation was led by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs North Atlantic Department Director Ambassador, that's a long name, but the United States raised concerns regarding the access to banking and contracted services, as well as the need to ensure stable and sustainable staffing levels at the US Embassy in Moscow. So through constructive discussions, both sides identified concrete initial steps to stabilize bilateral mission operations. Through constructive discussions, both sides identified concrete initial steps to stabilize bilateral mission operations in these areas. So the Deputy Assistant Secretary Kolter and the Ambassador of Russia agreed to hold a follow-up meeting on these issues in the near term, with a date, location and representation to be determined. So Russian and US delegations have just met for the second time now, but this time in Istanbul, Turkey, and it seems that the talks have gone very well. And the next news we've gotten today coming from Ukraine is coming from Ukraine's parliament. So we've just got news today that Ukraine's parliament, including the opposition force, has just voted unanimously to affirm that Zelensky is the legitimate president of Ukraine and that no elections can actually take place until the war is finished. So a general election can be held as soon as the war ends, according to the Ukrainian parliament. So Ukraine's parliament has just passed a bill affirming that Zelensky is the legitimate president of Ukraine and that elections will take place as soon as the war ends. So interesting news. We've also just gotten breaking news today that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has just landed in Washington DC, where he'll be obviously meeting and signing the rare earth mineral deal with the President of the United States, Donald Trump. So Trump confirmed that Zelensky's meeting on Friday will sign the rare earth deal. So the meeting between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky will be taking place very soon, so probably later today. So Zelensky has just touched down in Washington DC, where he's expected to sign the rare earth mineral deal with the United States. So very big news. And Zelensky plans to visit London after Washington. So after Zelensky has signed his rare earth mineral deal with the United States, he plans to actually come back to Europe and visit with the United Kingdom. So he plans to visit London after Washington, saying, if I go to the US, I plan to visit London next. And immediately after that, we will meet the Europeans, our European allies. So interesting news. We've also got news today that the US President Donald Trump has just stated today that Ukraine can forget about NATO membership. So he said that's an unrealistic goal, and he stated that probably was the reason why the whole thing started, was NATO membership, and Donald Trump has just stated today that Ukraine can forget about NATO membership. We've also just got news today that Albania has become the 13th country to join the Interflex initiative for training Ukrainian troops. So this mission was held and led by the United Kingdom since the summer of 2022, so near the time the war in Ukraine started. So Albania has joined as the 13th country to train Ukrainian troops in Albania. So big news again. And the next news we've got today is coming from Norway, where we've got news today that the Joint Viking 2025 exercise in Norway is about to take place. So Norway is preparing for an important NATO military exercise with all of its might from March the 3rd to March the 14th. So the NATO Viking exercise will take place in northern Norway in this highlighted area here in blue and red. And the Joint Viking exercise will take place there, which will be the largest NATO format exercise on Norwegian territory. So it will involve about 10,000 servicemen from several different countries. In addition to the Norwegians, units from Canada, the United States, Finland, Germany and the Netherlands will be involved. So 70,000 servicemen from several different countries will be involved. So 70,000 servicemen will be involved in this NATO Viking 2025 military exercise. So the event will take place in the province of Troms in northern Norway, with shooting and combat maneuvers being practiced. So this is pretty close to obviously the Russian border here. It's only 500 kilometers away from the Russian border, so I'll keep you updated on that. But Norway is preparing for huge NATO military exercises with 70,000 NATO personnel being involved. So big news. We've also got news today coming from Germany that Germany has just become the 4th largest global military spender. So the US is still in the lead with a massive margin of $968 billion, followed by China with $235 billion, and followed by Russia with $146 billion. So Germany has just become the fourth largest global military spender of the world, so they're still behind Russia, China and the United States. We've also got news today that France may deploy nuclear weapons and nuclear forces in Germany if the United States Armed Forces leave Europe. So this is according to the Daily Telegraph. So it is noted that such a step by the French authorities could prompt the UK leadership to follow their example. So France may deploy nuclear forces in Germany if the United States forces leave Europe. So this is again according to the Daily Telegraph. And the next news we've got today is coming from Romania. So we've just gotten breaking news today that the police have just detained the Romanian presidential candidate of Călin Georgescu. So Romanian presidential candidate Călin Georgescu has just been detained as reported by his press team. So the incident occurred when his vehicle was reportedly stopped on the road. Following the stop, Georgescu, the presidential candidate of Romania, was taken into questioning at the General Prosecutor's office. So footage shows here in your bottom left corner of police detaining the Romanian presidential candidate of Călin Georgescu. Here in your bottom left corner, he was stopped by police and he was taken in for questioning. And we've just got news that the Romanian presidential candidate Călin Georgescu has just been placed under a 60-day travel ban and has been prohibited from using social media, the Romanian media reports. So I'll remind you that this independent candidate for the presidency of Romania actually won the first round of elections in Romania, but his victory was annulled, so it was taken away from him for suspicion of interference from Russia. So he is seen as a very pro-Russian candidate, but he won the first election. So he won the first round of elections, but his victory was annulled, so it's taken away from him. We've also gotten some more news coming from Romania today, coming from the Tate brothers. So we've got news that the Tate brothers are now heading from Romania to the United States. So it seems that the Tate brothers have finally gotten an approval from Romanian authorities to leave the country, and Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are now heading to Florida, America, where they are meeting probably Joe Rogan, I would suspect. That's not confirmed, but I think the Tate brothers are heading to the United States to probably meet and do a podcast with Joe Rogan. Now, the next things we'll be discussing today is coming from the European Union. So we've just got news that President Trump has just announced 25% tariffs on the European Union. So the US President Donald Trump has just said that he's been planning to hit goods made in the European Union with tariffs of 25%, claiming that the European Union bloc was created to screw the United States. So Donald Trump stated that we'll be announcing it very soon. He told this to reporters at an appearance with members of his cabinet. He stated that it will be 25% generally speaking, and that it will be targeted on European cars, so, and other things, he stated. So the European Union stated that it will be responding to the US president's 25% tariffs of maybe its own 25% tariffs on, I don't know, American goods, but interesting news. And we've also got news today that the International Olympic Committee has just called for the allowing of Russian and Belarusian athletes to take part in different sports and competitions that are used as qualifications in the event of the Olympics. So the IOC has just confirmed that it expects the Russian and Belarusian athletes to take part in the upcoming Olympic Games. So this year we can expect Russian and Belarusian athletes to be reintroduced in the Olympic Games this year. We've also got some news coming from the United Kingdom. So the UK will commit to spend 2.5% of its GDP on defence by 2027. The Prime Minister of the United United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, confirmed. So currently the British allocation of spending on its military is 2.3% of GDP on defence. Now Keir Starmer is vowing to increase this by 2.5% of GDP. So interesting news. We've also got some news coming from Azerbaijan today. So Azerbaijan is to receive the first batch of JF-17 Thunder fighter jets from Pakistan soon. Pakistan's information minister has stated. So Pakistan is going to be giving an unknown amount of JF-17 Thunder fighters to Azerbaijan very soon, according to Pakistan's information minister. And the next news we've gotten today is coming from Israel. So we've got news today that Hamas and Israel have just held another prisoner exchange. So Israel has just released 602 Palestinian prisoners that it has delayed in protest of the Hamas ceremonies. So while Hamas handed over the bodies of 4 Israeli hostages to the Red Cross. So Hamas has just released 4 bodies of the Israeli hostages that tragically didn't make it, and Hamas authorities are reporting that Israeli bombs killed the 4 Israeli hostages, but in return Israel has released 602 Palestinian prisoners for an exchange for the 4 Israeli bodies, the 4 Israeli hostages' bodies that tragically they didn't make it. So I'll keep you updated on the situation in Israel and Hamas. And the next news we've got today is coming from South Africa. So we've got news today that South African peacekeepers are being evacuated from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So 130 South African soldiers are being evacuated from the Goma zone in the Democratic Republic of the Congo after intense battles with the M23 Rwandan rebel group. The clashes, which claimed the lives of 14 South African group members, have left many wounded and 4 in critical condition, and 58 South African soldiers requiring specialized medical care. So the evacuation involves a road trip to Rwanda itself, followed by a flight back to South Africa. So this comes as the M23 rebel group continues its offensive, capturing key areas in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, including Goma. So the situation has prompted regional and international bodies to call for a ceasefire and renewed peace efforts. So South Africa is calling 130 South African troops back home due to the intense situation on the in the war between the M23 rebels and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And we've also just got news today that Britain will introduce sanctions soon against Rwanda over fighting in neighbouring Congo, a minister in the UK Foreign Office said, Reuters reported. So the UK and many other European countries are going to be introducing sanctions on Rwanda due to the fighting that is going on in the DRC. And the next news we've got today is coming from Afghanistan. So we've got news that the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan spokesman responded to Trump's statements about the return of American weapons left in Afghanistan back to the United States. So the country's spokesman of Afghanistan stated that no one should have the illusion that they can give orders to Afghans. We are not under the control and management of another country. The weapons left behind by American troops are now the property of the Afghan people. So Afghanistan, in short, won't be given back its the military equipment that the US left behind in Afghanistan. And the next news we'll be talking about today is coming from China. So we've got news today that China has just announced live fire military exercises of the coast of southern Taiwan. So Taiwan has just raised the state of alert in Taiwan and deployed troops across the island. So Taiwan has deployed land, air and sea military assets to monitor the situation of the Chinese military exercise around the southern part of the island. So we can see that here in your bottom left corner, we can see Taiwan's navy actively monitoring 2 Chinese military vessels, the Type 071 and the Type 903 ship, very close of the coast of the southern Taiwan during China's recent military exercises. So That is not the only thing that's happening. China has also announced military exercises off the coast of Australia as well. So China announces the start of military exercises in the Tasman Sea between Australia and New Zealand. So if we can see here in the bottom left corner, China conducted live fire drills near Australia. The Chinese Navy has released new footage of live fire combat drills in the Tasman Sea off the coast of Australia's coast. China has reportedly informed Australia about the exercise beforehand, leading to Australia sending a naval frigate to monitor the situation closely. So apparently China's message to Australia and New Zealand during its military exercises in the Tasman Sea was that we can cut off your air and sea links without warning, the diplomat of Australian outlet said. So big news. So China is now doing military exercises in both Taiwan and the coast of Australia and New Zealand, and again I'll keep you updated on that. We've also gotten just in breaking news that China has warned the United States to stop providing weapons to Taiwan as well. And the last news coming from China today is that we've gotten news that Shoigu, the former defense minister of Russia, has just arrived in Beijing to meet with Xi Jinping and the Chinese foreign minister Wang Yi, the press service of the Russian Security Council reported. So we've got news that Shoigu has officially has landed in Beijing, where he's going to be holding talks with the president of China and the Chinese foreign minister Wang Yi. We've also got news today that North Korea has just conducted a test launch of strategic cruise missile. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, North Korea has unleashed footage of its most recent strategic cruise missile test that just happened today. So the nuclear-capable missile precisely hit the target after marking a flight along 1,587 kilometers long overall trajectory, the North Korean media reported. So the North Korean army conducted a strategic cruise missile test, and this missile is capable of carrying nuclear weapons in the missile. So it hits somewhere in the sea of Japan. So big news. We've also got some news coming from the United States today that the United States president has just met with the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, and within the meeting, they mentioned a lot of key statements. So, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced that the UK is ready to send troops and its air force to secure peace in Ukraine. The British Army currently numbers 75,000 regular troops. So, the British Prime Minister announced that the UK is in fact ready to deploy its military air force in Ukraine for peacekeeping missions. We've also got news that Donald Trump, within the meeting with the British Prime Minister, stated that we'll try and get as much land back for Ukraine as possible. And we've also got news that within the meeting, Trump showed off his personal invite from King Charles III to visit the United Kingdom. According to Keir Starmer, he stated that this is unprecedented, says Starmer after he put his hand on Donald Trump's shoulder. So this will be the second invite that Donald Trump has gotten from the royal family in the United Kingdom, and Donald Trump has approved that he will be visiting Buckingham Palace in London very soon. So interesting news. So Donald Trump has confirmed that he will be visiting King Charles on his second visit to the royal family. We've also got news that according to the New York Post, the Epstein files are going to be released today, but it will not contain a client list. So interesting news. So apparently Epstein files are apparently going to be released today, but again, we'll just have to wait until next video until we've gotten the full information about the files that are going to be released today. And the next news we've got today is coming from Argentina. So we've got news today that Argentina has received its first batch of 24 F-16 fighter jets purchased from Denmark. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Argentinian army showcasing the F-16s that it purchased from Denmark. So Argentina has just received 24 F-16 jets from Denmark. So interesting news. And that's all the news I have for you today. I'm on the scene news. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. And if you want to actually help me personally, you feel free to donate in the link in the description below. I have a PayPal link where you can help me personally, or you could actually join as a member of the channel. But thanks either way. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.